Ragin Cajuns with a goal line stand against Arkansas State. They win 34-30. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, we'll get to JMU hosting Washington State, and can Southern Miss bounce back, and who's going to be their quarterback as well. And we'll talk about all the games coming up this weekend in the Sun Belt. But what a ball game between Arkansas State and the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. Cajuns hang on for a 34-30 victory, and talk about turns of momentum throughout. I was working, and so I missed what happened after the Cajuns recovered the fumble to go in 10-7. They were trailing. All right, so this is what happened, right? Arkansas State kicks a field goal. Cajuns, they stop them. They were going to get a touchdown. They stop them. They kick a field goal. Cajuns fumble, scoop and score. It's 10-0. Then Arkansas State gets a stop, but they fumble the punt. Cajuns take advantage and make it a 10-7 ball game. All right. What happens on the ensuing kickoff? Eventually a fumble. Cajuns get that going in the end zone. Make it a 14-10 ball game. And then somewhere in there, again, because not watching it, but that kickoff return ended up coming back in there. When was that? Let's see here. Fumble, touchdown, field goal. So they made it 14-13. Cajuns made it 17-13. And then the kickoff return by Cobb made it a 20-17 ball game. It was 27-24 at the half, and just a back and forth ball game. And I mean, again, if I could tell you one play changed the game, that would be ridiculous. But the fumble that allowed the Cajuns to get back into it very well could have changed the game. Arkansas State could have gone up 13-0 or 17-0. And maybe the ball game is over. Instead, that let them get back in there. Now, we get down to the coaching, and there was some questionable coaching decisions on both sides. I'm not sure, how much Butch Jones is going to get for that timeout. I don't know when there was a time to call it outside of, when there's 18 seconds left and the clock is ticking away. Mike, what was Matt Barry calling him? Mike DeZormo all night long? It is what it is. That's not the first time that's happened. So Butch Jones wouldn't call his timeout. Cajuns defensively were playing as soft as Charmin. We're going to play really soft. It's the linebackers who are playing soft. If the defensive backs play soft, that'd be one thing. But the linebackers were just backing up 10 yards and coming up and trying to make the tackle. I mean, Arkansas State, made a 4th and 8 by getting 8.5 yards. All right. The DeZormo, I'm going to get that confused in my own mind now. Question was, they did a nice bootleg, I believe, to Zylan Perry. Maybe it was to Bill Davis. They got it was like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and they got about 6 yards, about 4th and 3. And I'm wondering why they didn't go for it there. Just about 3 minutes left to go. Wasn't quite the 2-minute penalty. No, it was over. It was not. Maybe it was just under 3 minutes left to go. And Arkansas State's calling timeouts, and they went for it against Texas State. Now, here's the difference. Texas State was a field goal could tie it, but a touchdown would win it. And Texas State doesn't need, a minute and a half. They can score in 30 seconds. But they went for it, and they got it on 4th and 2 going against Texas State like 10 days ago, right? Or 12 days ago, as the case may be. Here was 4th and 3. I'm screaming going for it. You need to go for it. You need to go for it because what basically almost happened. And they didn't go for it. They tried to draw them off sides. good job by the color analyst to see that one coming. It's not the worst thing in the world to do that a couple of times, and then they're back on their heels. They're not ready for the play to go. Then you can snap it and maybe pick up the 3 yards. But I'd be interesting to know why he didn't go for it. I don't want to hear it's home or away. That doesn't mean anything to me. If you get it, you win the ball game. Arkansas State's down to 1 timeout and the 2-minute timeout, and that would have been it. So maybe you just need one more first down, or now at the same time you would be close enough to kick a field goal. Right. Maybe those extra 20 yards or so that they got saved the game, because that's how long it took them to get down there. Of course, the clock management wasn't great by Butch Jones and Arkansas State. So the Cajuns win 34-30. Questionable thing at the end of the ball game. I'm going to go back and watch it because they said there was no whistle blown, but Jalen Raynor forward progress was stopped. All right, now, did he fumble and an offensive lineman land on it in the end zone? Is that legal in college? Because you can't do that in the pros. That's the holy roller play with Kenny Stabler and Dave Gasper. Can't do that in the pros anymore. If you fumble that late in the game, the only person who can recover it, at least in the pros, is the guy who fumbled it. Can't do that crazy play in college football. So, or in pro football. We'll find out. I don't know. Craig Stevenson said, did an offensive lineman recover in the end zone? I thought the play was dead. His forward progress was clearly stopped. I don't know if he was down or not. A massive humanity. And then, boy, I can only imagine if the refs called a penalty and on the Cajun sideline and they had to do it again. That would have been, yeah, that would have been bad. All right. We're not playing the next week to protest the Sun Belt because that would have been bad. Although technically it is a penalty, tough spot to call a penalty at that point in time. So where are we? Cajuns have won 3 in a row. They've improved to 5-6. They get a couple extra days. They get many of their players back. Tyrese Kipper will not be back, obviously, this season. And hopefully some of their offensive line, although they had some good statistics rushing the football, right? Lunch did pass at 18 for 25. Not bad, only 147 yards. They really weren't going downfield too much. He ran it for 89 yards and 2 scores. Bill Davis ran it for 57 yards. Island Perry, 42 yards. So they did rush it for 202 yards. Jensen had 4 catches for 34 yards. Sampson had 3 catches for 34 yards, but they only passed it for those 147 yards. Jalen Raynor, 25 of 43, 256. No touchdowns or an interception. Devin Spencer, 71 yards on 16 carries, did score once. And Raynor ran it for 14 times for 54 yards. Corey Rucker, leading FBS in receiving yards, 120 yards, but no touchdowns. Did have 8 catches. His long was 28 yards. The Cajuns did pretty good defensively considering their secondary was not playing tonight. So big win for the Cajuns. They got a shot to go bowling when they started the season 2-6, and they got ULM at home, and they're going to have a couple extra days off. All right. Meanwhile, Arkansas State falls to 5-6. And who do they got at the end of the season? They got App State. Now, I'm not sure App State, what do we say? App State, Marshall, and Georgia Southern can all go bowling. They can all get to 6 wins. If you include Arkansas State in there, you can't do it because App State needs to win twice to go bowling. So only 3 of those 4 teams are going to be able to go bowling. So we shall see how that goes. All right, let's get to the other parts of the Sun Belt. Big ball game in Harrisonburg as JMU is hosting Washington State. We'll do that right after I tell you about game time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually, getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. All right, prices were expensive earlier in the week, but now JMU hosting Washington State. I saw tickets on Game Time for $23. I'm not telling you they're the best seats, but they are in the house. They're $23. Go to Game Time and get them now. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Cajuns with a big win on Thursday night. And JMU, meanwhile, will host Washington State Saturday afternoon, which is the real Washington State, the one that got blown out by UNT or the close losses to Virginia and Ole Miss. All right, and we all know that this game is officially sold out, so those tickets are available on Game Time. That's the only place you're going to be able to find them. JMU is a 13.5-point favorite in this one, and they got to be impressive. If they want any shot without some major losses coming to impress the college football committee, they need to win in a big way. I don't think you can hope to win 59-10. That's tough to ask. But if they can have a solid 30 minutes and build on that, we'll see what happens. Usually that goes with turnovers or explosive plays or, special team plays to get to that kind. Although I don't think they had a whole lot of that last week. They maybe did. They get 3 turnovers from App. App could not do anything with the ball last week. And so you can't really plan on winning like that, but they're certainly going to try. They're going to try and be as impressive as they can against Washington State. All right. You got to be focused on that. And then if the opportunity presents itself, then you can run it up, blow them out, that type of deal. I'm going to take the JMU in the 13.5 points. I think it behooves them in terms of the game not to have game day there. Obviously, it'd be great for the Sun Belt to be there, all the pomp and circumstance, and Harrisonburg and Sun Belt this and Bob Chesney that. Now, coach doesn't have to worry about being asked if he's getting the Penn State job or the UCLA job or whatever job's out there. They can just concentrate on the game. Because remember, the last time, we mentioned this week, they're trying to become bowl eligible. They're trying to become Sun Belt eligible, which they were never going to be able to do to play in the championship game. And then they went out and lost. So now they can focus on just the game and see if they can carry the mantle for the Sun Belt. That's the important. That is by far the important part. All right. Meanwhile, Georgia Southern is trying to become bowl eligible. Meanwhile, Old Dominion trying to win their 8th ball game. This is at 1:00 Eastern time, same time as the JMU Washington State ball game. ODU is an 11.5-point favorite. It seems like a lot. I like the over in this one, 62.5. It feels like Georgia Southern has all of a sudden figured things out just a bit. At least offensively. They certainly haven't figured out anything defensively. And ODU seems to get off some really good starts, maybe over the first half. You could take that. Or ODU in the first half. Look for that on FanDuel because it feels like ODU comes out with guns blazing. Last week, they finished things off with Troy. They had not done that earlier. So, ODU's had a pretty good season. Obviously, the disappointing loss to Marshall before falling apart in the second half to JMU has kind of, tempered their season a little bit. But they can still win it. They can have a 10-win season, right? Win 2 more ball games and win a bowl game, and you've had a fantastic season to go 10-3 over there in Norfolk. All right, one more game here in this one. We'll talk Troy and Georgia State. Let's see if Troy can bounce back. Okay, I think Tucker Kilgrease is supposed to start. Presume TJ Finley is going. I think Cameron Brown's hurt. Let's see if Troy can pick themselves up after 2 really poor showings and try to get the train back on its tracks. All right. They became bowl eligible, and they haven't won since. They were right in the mix in the West, but Arkansas State beat them in Troy, and then they got demolished by ODU. So Troy's 10.5-point favorite. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take Troy 10.5 points. I think they are going to bounce back and have a rather solid victory over Georgia State. Well, let's see if Georgia State can compete. That's something that we've been asking for all season long. And you do get parts of it. You don't get, it doesn't feel like 60 minutes. They seem to fall apart. And I, talking out of both sides of my mouth because I know the other team's trying too. But it doesn't feel like they can put together a 60-minute effort. All right. That doesn't mean it always goes your way, but there seems to be some fall off somewhere in there. And they usually end up losing by more than 2 scores. No, that is the problem, or at least usually by 10 points. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. Still got Southern Miss. Can they bounce back? You got Marshall playing. Monroe is taking on Texas State. Texas State trying to get bowl eligible. And then you got a sneaky South Carolina and Coastal Carolina ball game. We will talk about all of that when we come back right after I tell you about FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets from everything who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now, I did want to mention Southern Miss is still a 1.5-point favorite. I wonder if Braylon Braxton does start. Does that line grow? You would think it would. If he doesn't play, the defense has to step up. I can't imagine Liddy's going to play that poorly again, but the defense has to show up because South Alabama, as we'll talk about here next, can be very explosive offensively. We'll do that right after this. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. By the way, we've had such a great week with subscribers. We had one bad week in November. We're very close to having 100 subscribers in the last 30 days or so. It's tough to ask for more than that. I'm asking for about 120. We're still trying to get 3,000. I probably need to push that a little bit more just to remind people. It's going to be a little bit tough to do that. All right. But that doesn't mean we're not going to try. We're less than 300 away. But if we have 2 big weeks and there's a coaching search, you never know. Or 2 coaching searches, or maybe more. We'll see. All right. Can Southern Miss bounce back? I think they can. All right. All of a sudden, South Alabama playing with a little bit of heart. They fell behind Monroe 14-0 and could have packed it in and scores 26 unanswered points. Now, what does Southern Miss do after taking one on the chin? And they took one on the chin, 41-14 to Texas State. Just did not play well. Liddy didn't play well. The defense was a no-show. Now, Braylon Braxton was listed as questionable on the injury report. So pay attention to the line, and you'll see if he's coming back or not. I'll be working all day. But that's the big thing. If Braylon Braxton plays, I think Southern Miss can win, or will win. We'll put it that way. If Landry Liddy plays, South Alabama's got a real shot. All right. They've been playing a little bit better compared to, say, it's been the opposite with Georgia State. Like, they got off to an awful start against the Cajuns, and they made a game of it. They got off to an awful start against ULM, and ran away with it. So this is a big spot for Southern Miss. This is, sorry about the term, maturity. This is where you're going to see if Southern Miss is a mature football team. Don't lose the same game twice. Beat a team that you're better than. All right. There's no question who's the better football team here. It's a matter of, cliche, who wants it more and who executes. All right. Southern Miss is the better football team. I don't think I'm going out on a limb on that one, but they need to show it and they need to play it like it. Okay. But I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth. If Braxton starts and plays most of the game, Southern Miss will win. If Liddy plays, South Alabama is probably going to win this football game. That's what I think. All right. Elsewhere, Marshall taking on App State. It is in lovely Boone, North Carolina. App State needs to win both ball games to become bowl eligible. Marshall can win this ball game and become bowl eligible, which I think is a fantastic feat for Tony Gibson and his Thundering Herd. They are the defending Sun Belt champions. They are 5.5-point spread. Was on the Sun Belt Syndicate with Chad and Dominic and Russ Living Good with the Thundercast. And he is very nervous about going into Boone, North Carolina. I mean, App State has just not played well for the better part of a month. Since they lost, they beat Oregon State, handled Georgia State, and since they lost to Coastal in a ball game they should have won, they lost to Old Dominion 24-21, and that was a 2-score game before A.J. Swan brought them back. They were getting beat badly by Georgia Southern. It got close, and James Madison was embarrassing. I think Marshall's going to run away with this ball game. All right, some of those scores are much closer than those games would appear. I think Marshall is going to play a little bit better and come away with a victory in this ball game on the road. All right. I could say maturity for both of these teams. Let's see who is mature, because App State has just gone in the wrong direction over the last month after they were having a pretty good season. All right. Texas State hosting Monroe. Texas State all of a sudden showed up. We did say that, they have not packed it in either. I don't buy the whole, they don't care what's going on because they're going to the Pac-12. Not the players anyways. And I don't think the coaches. They had lost 4 close ball games. They got blown out against JMU. I get it. But they lost 4 close ball games, all in the last minute or so. They came way back against the Cajuns, couldn't quite get a stop. And the Cajuns won that ball game. And then they went into Hattiesburg and destroyed Southern Miss. Right? Southern Miss didn't know what hit them. They're playing with a backup QB. It's tough to come back. Defense did not know what hit them. And so you got to believe Texas State's going to have a whole lot of confidence going into this ball game. And ULM has, unfortunately for them, faded as well. They're 3-7 overall, 1-5 in the Sun Belt. They haven't won a ball game since they beat Arkansas State 28-16. We're talking about them going into Northwestern and beating the Wildcats. Yeah. They lost 42-7. In a monsoon, they lost 23-8 to Coastal. They lost to Troy 37-14. They got blown out. Southern Miss blew them out 49-21. Old Dominion blew them out 31-6. And again, they jumped on top of South Alabama 14-0, but gave up 26 unanswered points. This game against Texas State should not be close. It should not be close. Texas State should blow them out. Then ULM will try to play spoiler as they will take on the Cajuns in a ball game that the Cajuns are going to try to go bowling in. I mean, what a season that would be. Start out 2-6 and go bowling. Goodness gracious. We will talk about that a lot next week. And then to wrap it up, interesting ball game. I'm going to be homer in this one because I'm not sure. Talk about maturity. And two teams that are actually coming off tough losses. South Carolina is hosting Coastal Carolina. 24.5-point favorites. I'm going to take Coastal Carolina to cover in this ball game, to flat out win. Interestingly enough, Gamecocks are minus 4,000 on the money line, so you got to bet $4,000 to win 100. Whereas Coastal Carolina is only plus 1,300 to win. So, so that's very interesting. You bet 100, you win 1,300 on Coastal Carolina. South Carolina coming off a brutal loss to A&M. Coastal Carolina without Samari Collier, who is supposed to be coming back, by the way. I think Tim Beck said he may be back for a bowl game, and Coastal's already bowl eligible. So that is really good news. We'll see if Tad Hudson and company, and if the defense can show up. That's the thing. Coastal Carolina's defense, which had been pretty good this year, at least getting a stop or two, couldn't get a stop against Georgia Southern at all. And so we'll see how they do. I think they're going to keep it close. And this is where, are you mature enough, if you're South Carolina, to bounce back and beat a team that you should be better than? I'm not sure that they are, right? And one of the things that would have been hanging over Shane Beamer's head, like it or not, was him going to Virginia Tech. Well, James Franklin took the job. That alleviates that pressure. All right. James Franklin is your new head coach at Virginia Tech. So we don't have to worry about Shane Beamer going anywhere, at least taking another job. Will be interesting if he loses to Coastal Carolina and to Clemson. Is he going to have a job next year? Oh, that would be brutal. That would be absolutely brutal. All right. Did we have any hoops tonight? We might as well wrap it up. Eventually, we won't be able to wrap it up with hoops because it's only going to be 2 times a week for the most part in the Sun Belt. You do have USC hosting Troy. All right. I will say it's a pretty good ball game right now. So it's the men of Troy hosting Troy. I'm sure no puns like that were used throughout the ball game. Troy coming off that big win of over San Diego State. And Marshall with a win over Arkansas Pine Bluff, 98-70. Marshall was trailing at the half, 37-35. They blew them out in the second half, 63-33. Arkansas Pine Bluff is 0-7. Marshall improves to 4-1 overall. Friday, there is a whole slate of ball games. There's a lot. South Alabama is at UAB. Florida State hosting Georgia Southern. They just played Georgia Tech. App State taking on Charlotte. That's the way the college football season started. I remember a lot of App State fans telling me how good Charlotte was. No, not really. And then you have, let's see here. Old Dominion's taking on Morgan State. Georgia State's at South Dakota State. Texas State hosting former Sun Belt foe Little Rock. Arkansas State's at SMU. SMU's 5-0. Arkansas State's played well on the road. And the Cajuns take on Santa Clara. Santa Clara 5-0, 4-0 at home. All right, so we will have a full recap. Anyone playing at night in this football? I'm working all day. Let's see here. Southern Miss, South Alabama, 3:30 Eastern time. James Madison, Washington State, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Georgia Southern, Old Dominion, 1 o'clock. App State and Marshall, 2:30. Troy and Georgia State is at 4, so I'll be able to see the end of that ball game. Coastal Carolina and South Carolina at 4:15. See the end of that one. And Texas State hosting Monroe at 5 p.m. Eastern time. I will be able to see the end of see most of that one, as the case may be. All right. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We're continuing to grow. We've had some really good growth, as I mentioned. Again, almost 100 subscribers in a month. That's fantastic. So let's keep on pushing it towards that 3,000 by the end of the year. We got 6 weeks left. What is it? 31 and 8, 38. So just over, not even 6 weeks, less than 6 weeks. My understanding is that there would be no math. So under 6 weeks. Let's see if we can do it. All right. It won't be easy. I understand that. But the more people you tell, the more times you share it, the more times you like it, the more times you leave a comment, even if you're just trolling me, the more the channel can grow. And I do appreciate it all. All right. So enjoy. It's a late night right now. In fact, it's happy Friday morning right now. So I got to get into bed. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. It was a great football game. 34-30. Cajuns beat Arkansas State. The game ending on a goal line stand as the Cajuns prevent Jalen Raynor from punching it in as the Cajuns win their third straight, 1 win away from going into a bowl. We'll be back again on Monday for a full recap of of Sunbelt football and basketball. I do appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. Thank you so much. Enjoy the football. Have a safe and fun weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.